to go. Sitting around nowhere to go. You're talking to Jane, you're talking to Joe. Talking to Jane, you're talking to Joe.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Hey, get back for another one of the memos as we continue going through Pete Hegseth's newest memorandums. If you have not gone back and just watched the video of him in front of all the generals, please do that. You'll learn a lot about what's kind of changing, what's going on. These memorandums are just the official documentation, official guidance, making those things come into reality more than just someone saying some stuff on a stage. So without further ado, so let's jump right into this. So memo for us, and this is the one covering military fitness standards. As you heard him discuss on stage, if you went and listened like I was told you to, like everyone else already has probably, he's tired of fat soldiers, fat leaders, et cetera, et cetera. Something that keeps coming out is this lethality, readiness. Like I told you, we are hyper focused on those things as a force right now. So we're going to read through a couple of highlighted things, but really when we get into the requirements. So our standards will be high, uncompromising, and clear, which is great. Getting back to very simple. We must not just meet the standard, they must embody it, right? So this is what we're talking about, our core fighting formations. So soldiers in the military need to be, they must embody that standard. Get out of the, there's some bad pictures out there right now of fat service members. And we all understand that just weakens our force. So here's the requirements now. Active component service members will execute 2 fitness tests annually. So this is up from 1. I assume active component's still taking 1, like the National Guard, but obviously there's a little separation there. I'm a National Guardsman. I am not an active duty guy. So if those are wrong, by all means, feel free to correct me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. 1 will be the existing service fitness test. So, like the Army right now is doing the AFT, and I'm sure that will change again. It's changed every stinking year, it seems like, for the last several, as we figure out what the standards are and which exercises we should be doing, et cetera, et cetera. The second will be a combat field test for combat arms personnel. And then that's the list at the bottom. We'll look over that very shortly. A combat readiness test for non-combat Army personnel, or the service fitness test. So essentially you can do the service fitness twice. So if you're doing the AFT in the Army, you can do that twice for a excuse me. So I misread that. I'm sorry. A combat readiness test for non-combat arms personnel or the services. Yeah. Okay. I read that right. Anyway, moving on. Service members will perform physical fitness training every duty day. Okay, now I have to admit that I was a little worried National Guard-wise. How do we do this? Not because we physically can't. A couple things. 1, going out and doing PT twice a month, I think is going to have no change to someone who doesn't already work out. If they do already work out, I guess the continuation is great. So it's a little weird there on like I have these soldiers twice a month, 2 days out of 20 or 30 or whatever, right? I was gonna say 28, but 30 or 31, I guess 28 in February. Anyway, we have them 2 days. I'm not sure that 2 days of PT is gonna matter. You could possibly, try to get something started mentally, get them prepared to do that. I don't know. So that's already weird for National Guardsmen. We historically have not done PT for National Guard days. Now, at AT, when you're together for 14 or 15 days, sure, then you've got a couple weeks, and that's what, takes whatever it was, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 weeks to start a habit. So maybe you get someone used to waking up every day and working out, or going to the gym every evening, whatever it is. For National Guardsmen on regular drill weekends, the issue becomes just time. We are already doing a month's worth of administrative crap. Plus, if you have any vehicles, you got to PMCS them. You need to drive them every month so they don't sit out there and rot, which they do anyway. We have to, we have our mission essential task list, our medal that we have to go over, which I guess you just put physical fitness on there and then that covers it. But There's just a lot going on that we're trying to fit into a 24-hour period. Most people are meeting for a regular 2-day weekend at, 07 or 0800, and then you gotta sleep at night. So even if you go to bed at 22 and get up at 04 or 06, you just get really short, and then you're sending people home, right? So you gotta send them home Sunday night. You can't keep them forever. Sure, they're getting paid till midnight. That's always a thing. Well, I'm paying you from midnight Saturday morning to midnight Sunday night. Fantastic. Um, we still have to send these people home. They have to be able to drive, so you can't physically exhaust them. And it's pretty shitty to try to take away a soldier's ability to go to work on Monday to their civilian job, um, because you're exhausting them. Something we've struggled with is guys are under sleep debt for 2 or 3 days going into their next work week because we're trying to work so hard and we end up not sleeping on our one nights. Now you're up for 48 hours straight, and it just sucks. That's a pretty shitty thing to do. A lot of guys are going to the Muta sixes now. So get Muta sixes and Muta fours in. You just have some shorter months so you can have longer months. Just trying to get those 48 mutas a year. So there's ways, I guess, that a little bit of physical fitness training could work into those. Just when you're doing the Muta fours, it's pretty difficult, which is a regular 2-day drill. Makes it pretty difficult. Anyway, so then they separated that out. So National Guard and Reserve components will take personal responsibility to maintain an appropriate physical fitness regimen, regardless of duty status. So basically, they're saying you need to have a PT plan. You need to be working out. If you're not, they're probably going to find a way to kick you out. Complete one physical fitness test annually aligned to their combat or non-combat armed designation. So scoring wise is how we've kind of separated that as of now. So you have to reach a certain amount to be a combat arms. And we'll get into that. Each military department will verify and validate its combat field test within 60 days and submit an execution plan for National Guard and Reserve component implementation. So once again, September 30th. So we're already almost halfway through this 60 days. Regardless, component failure to meet established standards may be used to withhold favorable personnel actions to include deny promotions and administrative separation in accordance with standing regulations. That's a huge one. We've already been that way anyways. So now we're just, kind of up in the ante on how much you have to do, and then still saying, hey, you could be denied those promotions, awards, etc. We've had people come off deployments, combat deployments, and they can't receive any of their awards because they failed a PT test while they were there. Which it is what it is, just meet the standard. Following matrix outlines specific fitness requirements for combat arms, non-combat arms personnel designed to clarify which evaluations apply to each category of service member, and then some enforcement across joint force. So we're trying to be consistent. So the service fitness tests for your combat arms personnel, we'll just go through this one first. So sex neutral age normed. What I understand here, if it says neutral, then it just doesn't exist. So there's not a male and female standard. If it says normed, then it can be tiered, such as like age has always been tiered, right? If you're younger, there's like a couple brackets there where you don't have to be as physically fit. Then you get the mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s. That's kind of the peak time. And then you get into your late 30s and those numbers start falling off. So you don't have to do as many push-ups or run quite as fast, whatever. So that's how they tier it. So combat arms, sex neutral. There is no more male, female standards. You just have the standard. You either can do it or you can't. However, it is age norm. So that will be, like I said earlier, as you get older, you have to do a little bit less. And it will be all male standards. It's not going to reduce the standard to make it easier for anyone. Must achieve 70% average across all elements. So you've got to get 70% average. Means you can suck in one area, but you better be great in other ones. That's me. I can run like the wind. My push-ups have always been terrible, even when I work on them. Combat field test is required, so service-determined standards must be executable in any environment, anytime with combat equipment. So that's the big one that I'm excited to see on these combat field tests is what do we do about the ability to just conduct them? Right now, obviously, the AFT, you've got to have deadlift bars, you got to have all these bumper plates, you have to have, space to lay out 25-meter lanes. You got to have kettlebells, you got to have a sled. I think that's it. But that's quite a bit of equipment to conduct these tests. And so they're saying the combat field test, it needs to be something you can do just with the equipment on you. And then they will not take a combat readiness test. Okay, so we move over to the non-combat arms. Service fitness test is sex normed age norm. So what this says, I just took a job I just got commissioned as a signal officer. So now I can expect to continue to see in our signal company male and female standards, and then also age standards. So, increasing or decreasing depending on age. We will not have a combat field test, but we'll have a combat readiness test. Once again, it does say you can replace this or substitute this with the service fitness test. Must be executable in any environment. So once again, you can't substitute it with the service fitness test if it says it's got to be in any environment, anytime with combat equipment, because you can't do the service fitness test without having the specific equipment. So it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Excuse my yawns. When we talked about combat fitness, still have to take 2 tests. The first test has to be the service fitness test. The second must be, well, now you're back to a combat field test, because this readiness test, or a readiness test, I should say, you cannot replace it with the service fitness test. We need too much equipment. So I'm very anxious to see how that works out for us Army Guardsmen, and then kind of, obviously the rest of the branches. The height weight standard, when we got away from the neck for males, it screwed a lot of guys. And I honestly think made it a less accurate test, right? Just using height and waist circumference method, I don't think is very accurate. You have to do something that people can understand and execute. You got to do something, I think, also that consistently and accurately assesses each person. Just because you have a big waist and you're small doesn't mean you aren't super strong. I'm a big Joe Rogan guy. I like watching Joe Rogan's podcast, but if you ever look at him with his shirt off, he has a huge waist, right? It's not a gut, but he's strong. It's all muscle, but it's huge. And I don't know how tall he is, but he doesn't look super tall. Average height, 5'10", 5'11", like I am. If you have to go tape and then you are just jacked out of your mind, can you still pass tape without the neck rule? Anyway, I'm anxious to see that. And then it says we're going to evaluate twice per year, okay, for this body composition. Once again, 60 days for all this to be implemented during the next calendar year. I want to see a better, not necessarily height weight. Like, I think the height weight standard's pretty much accurate. I think I'm okay at 5'10" for like 187 pounds. That's pretty good. I want to do the tape though. The tape needs to be changed. High performers on fitness tests may be granted exemptions. So used to, as long as you scored was like an 80 on everything and a certain total score, then you didn't have to worry about your height weight. You did it anyway, but if you failed it, it didn't matter because you were deemed athletic and fit. Now it's saying with defined limits, so high performance does not excuse non-compliance with body composition standards. So what is the exemption? If I'm a high performer on the fitness test, but I don't meet the body composition, and so I'm flagged there, then there's no exemption being granted. So I want to know, what exemption was I getting by being a high performer? Members exceeding body composition limits will be placed on remedial programs. Those not demonstrating adequate progress will be subject to administrative measures, to include processing for administrative separation. So same thing here. I want to know, if I'm a high performer and I'm granted exemptions, what are they? Because this says, the very next sentence, that it is not for body composition. So I don't know what it's for. Leadership and enforcement. To uphold these standards across the force, leadership must be both entrusted to lead and accountable for failure. The following actions are required to ensure consistent enforcement. Once again, kind of everything goes back to the commander, right? So standards must be clearly communicated. That's multiple echelons up, trying to get down to that unit level. Leaders at all levels are expected and empowered to enforce standards consistently. So flagging your people who are fat. If you don't make the standards, we have to flag you, and we have to take you out of schools. We can't let you progress. And eventually we have to kick you out because it says standards left unenforced are not truly standards. And that's correct. I have seen some of the Oklahoma National Guardsmen. They are not acceptable. The new standard is whatever they're getting away with. So leaders should be held accountable if physical fitness and body composition standards are not enforced within their units. Now, I understand he's speaking to the active duty element here. Okay. National Guard, this is a lot harder. Once again, how do I control someone when I'm not paying them? They're not under my guidance for 28 days out of the month. That's always been the hardest part. So how do you hold that leader accountable? I guess it goes back to the 2 days. Did you do your 2 days of exercise? But I want to see better education too here. So I want leaders to be educating on nutritional information, right? Giving them nutritional guidance, helping them understand easy ways. Are they meal prepping? Are they intermittent fasting? Have they tried any, it doesn't have to be like, I don't want to get into fad diets here, but how are they maintaining their nutritional health? Are you, starting running programs? We try to all track each other around a running app. I think we use Map My Run, but I could be wrong. Hang on, I'll look because it's a good one. Runkeeper. Okay, so we use MyFitnessPal for nutritional information. We use Runkeeper to track runs, and we can kind of like watch each other. I have good friends in the Guard that are on there that I can help motivate them by whether it's a stupid thumbs up on the app or doing my own or just shooting them a text. Hey man, good job this morning. Whatever. So what are leaders doing? And at what point will I check the box that yes, I am being held accountable by saying I did my job? That soldiers refuse to be in standards. So I'm interested for that. Each military service will establish or enhance electronic training records to ensure. I think we're already doing this. We're not going to go through that. Look, we're already putting all that stuff in electronically. I'm not sure what they're trying to get out of that. That's above my pay grade. Our warfighters must always demonstrate the highest standards of physical fitness and combat readiness. Once again, getting back to readiness and lethality. What expectations are not met, we must choose quality. Where expectations are not met, we must choose quality over quantity. So quit making decisions on numbers, start making decisions on standards, and lethality over complacency. I love that. Yes, I think it will hurt the Guard, but for a little while. Let's finish up here and we'll come back and talk about the numbers thing. Fitness must be regarded with the same seriousness as professional military education, meaning you have to go to your PME, right? Or you're not going to promote. You have to go get PME. There's boxes you have to check with, I don't care if it's BLC, ALC, SLC, MLC, is that the highest one? I don't care if it's our major academy on the officer side, right? You got to go to Bullock by a certain date. You have to go to, captain's career course. And I had been told that, and I don't know the rules here yet. I'm still learning as I'm just a butter bar. But if you refuse or don't go to captain's career course, you go and fail out, you can be kicked out, right? Not only do you not get promoted, you get kicked out. So that's basically what I'm reading here is the same seriousness as those PME. We have to start holding people accountable for their fitness. It is not a checkbox, core competencies, it says. So if someone consistently treats the bare minimum as their standard, and they are not a fit for a fighting force. That's a weird statement. We made the minimum the standard, right? We have a minimum standard. You have to reach this. If a person just always is there, I think they are a great fit for the force. When we're taking an AFT, if someone's doing the bare minimum and then stopping to move on, and they're physically fit, they physically look the part, that infuriates me. If someone's doing it because they know maybe their run is weak, and if they exhaust their body on all these other exercises and they're going to make them fail their own run, then I have a little bit of understanding there, right? So taking it smartly, but I don't know. So it's weird. I tell people you should just try it, go all out on every event. But if they know it's going to make them fail something in the future, because obviously it is a lot harder to run after you've sprint, jag, carried, and deadlifted, and the push-ups doesn't affect it as much. But so that's a weird statement. I don't love it. I'd like to see where he wants to go with that later on. Yes, I don't want to see people who are obviously can go above and beyond to continue stop at the bare minimum. But if you're using it to not exhaust yourself on an APF or AFT or something, I don't know. Maybe we'll make more videos about that because I feel like we need to have some conversation there, maybe an interview or something. All right, so quickly, you can scan this list. You can pause the video and figure out if your MOS is on here, your job code. I don't know what the other people call it. I'm Army guy. Okay, so numbers in the Guard. We are currently at a crossroads where we have allowed this lack of standards for so long that our good soldiers are getting out. Okay, the ones that exceed the standard, the ones that always give their all, they get tired of dealing with those that don't, and so they get out of the Guard because they simply don't. I mean, they'll do their contract and go away because they don't want to continue showing up and giving all this effort. When the people next to them are getting the same awards, they're getting the same promotions, maybe even out promoting them. The term "fuck up, move up" is super real. In the Guard, it happens all the time. People make mistakes. People are shitty soldiers, and instead of demoting, giving remedial training, whatever, we send them on. No, we as in a group, send them on, promote them up so that they can have less hands-on with the soldiers. I've heard these terms exactly, like these exact quotes. If you send them on, now a higher ranking person is their raider, and so they will be, get more one-on-one guidance with the idea that a higher echelon raider has less people to rate. They can get under the tutelage of someone with more experience because they've been in longer. Lots and lots of excuses for fuck up, move up, but it's a real thing, and I hate it. And so people get out because they get tired of watching these slobs, these terrible soldiers, the guys that have no leadership capabilities move up. Or just simply showing up and getting treated exactly equal. Or showing up and just understanding the standard is falling because we're not there's no detriment to showing up being overweight, showing up can't pass APFT or AFT. So I'm gonna keep using the other one. It's been APFT for 1,000 years. Yeah. So good soldiers are now getting out of the Guard. So we're still losing numbers. We're just losing the good ones while we keep the terrible ones. So I'm excited for that little, quality over quantity. I think that's going to get us where we need to go. I think it's going to hurt the Guard for a while. I think we're going to watch the numbers dip very large at the beginning, but I think your good soldiers will stay around longer. And I think more of them will get in. Good people know good people, right? So if I'm in the National Guard and I'm a good soldier, the odds are the people in my circle are also good people. Maybe they're joining the Guard now. So I think we're going to see our numbers dip and then rebound, and it will be those higher quality soldiers. We may be proved wrong. I don't know. It may bite us in the rear. We'll kind of see. Anyway, there you go. There's the memo. You can just Google that and download it for the Military Fitness Standards Memorandum from Pete Hegseth, Department of War, Secretary of War. Appreciate you all for looking. Hey, make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all the things as I continue pushing through this new leadership idea for the YouTube page. OCS guys, if you're watching this, you still should watch through all of these. Feel free to share them out. Thanks for stopping by the schoolhouse. LT Chambo out.
And then my recruiter came to me. Say what you want to be. I told him mean and lean and green.